gosh, hi. The setup that I have right now is pretty precarious because I was sitting back here and I felt like, that's so far away. I want to lean in. So I've got my computer up in front of me on a stack of things that could fall over very easily. And I'm going to read my dream stories. So when I'm filming this, it's Friday the 13th, nice and spooky. This is something I've wanted to do for a little while, but I was collecting up my dreams, trying to like wake up and immediately before I could move too much and like lose the memory of my dreams, write them down as fast as I can. So I'm going to share, I think, three of them, or like, you know how when you're asleep, sometimes you'll have multiple like sequences of dreams at one time and they don't really connect? I'm going to share three like portions of different dreams from different days. Um, let's see. So this one is from November, and I think it's the most in-depth one that I have here. Okay, I'll be looking down at my computer for quite a bit of this, so I hope that doesn't bother anyone. Or if it does, I'm sorry. So, there are four kingdoms, and I can sort of picture them aligned in a square on a map, like 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I'm saying? Land divided into kingdoms. And for each one, there's a certain thing that you can do. And I never became clear on what exactly the thing was. But if you do that thing, complete that mission, you can trigger like an apocalyptic event that ends these kingdoms. In my dream brain, that's how I understood what was happening. You know, like when you have a dream, the context is sort of like automatic. That's what I understood was happening. So there was one kingdom of the four that had already been destroyed. It was turned to porcelain. So all of the buildings and all of the people there became statues and collapsed, and the whole place turned to like ruin and dust and fell apart. So it's not just uh like a tornado or like a hurricane or something that comes and knocks everything down. It's like everything gone. So me, I was in another one of these kingdoms and I was on a mission to destroy it. So there were people who were like looking for me to stop me, and yeah, I understand why. I was not good for them. So to complete my mission, I needed a key basically that was like a USB drive, something that can hold and store information. But in my mind, they were called GIFs, but they weren't GIFs like the little videos. They weren't like memes, but they were called GIFs. That was just what they were called in my like dream space. So I was staying at this big fancy hotel there in this like land, and it was very like old fashioned, like thick red carpets, all of the employees in like fancy uniforms, red and gold everything, bellhops with like hats, like the Grand Budapest Hotel. And I check in, and an employee brings me up this giant staircase. And not giant as in a lot of steps, there were, but giant as in the steps were also wide and very long. And so I'm walking behind him. I go all the way up these stairs, and the door, it's to my room, it's not like down a hallway like a hotel would normally be. It's up the stairs, there's some space, and there's the door. And The thing that I need, this key that I'm supposed to have, is supposed to be in the room in a locked box, and it wasn't there. And I like had this understanding that it wasn't there, but I was shocked that it wasn't there. So I'm on the I'm like 3 or 4 steps down, and this guy is in front of the door, which is open, facing me. And I'm like, oh, there's it's empty. There's nothing in the box. And he's like, no. And I'm panicking. I'm panicking the whole time, but I'm trying not to show it because people are looking for me. And then suddenly there's a woman behind me on this staircase, and she says, like, pretty loudly, you should go and get some more if you need some. It would be better for you to do it right now than before you settle into your room. And from the way she's talking to me, I understand that she knows who I am and she's an ally in this mission that I have to destroy this to destroy this place. So I was like, yes. And I left, ran away from this employee guy, and went to like a Radio Shack to buy another one of these little devices that was empty, so to speak. And then from there, I met a friend, like a real life friend of mine, and she had these two keys, or like GIFs, that had all the information I needed, but it was separated. So the two of us went to a web cafe, and there were these two special machines. One of them, she plugged in her things, and it extracted the information. Then I plugged it. Then on this other machine, I plugged in mine, and it pulled all the information and put it onto mine. So I was all set with everything I needed. So we went back to the hotel, and we were walking through this giant lobby that was mostly empty. It was kind of dim. And I think there was like a bar on the other side. And we're walking through, like talking, and she says to me, if you see them, kill them before they kill you. And I know she's talking about a specific person. I can see them in my mind. Now, I think at the time I didn't know who it was, but I did see them. This woman, this like blonde lady, I did see her, and we kind of made eye contact, and I was panicking because I knew it was her. But then I woke up. So I don't know how that ends or what I decided to do. I do remember like thinking, like, should I even go back up to the room? Should I leave? Like run away? Like, what do I do? What looks the least suspicious, but like what's the safest? Who knows? But yeah, that was kind of a fun one because it was like a little adventure mission. And what the specific friend that I have who was in this dream, whenever she's in my dreams, we do the weirdest stuff together. There was another time me and her like climbed down onto like from a subway platform onto some tracks, and like across the tracks, and there was like a little shelf, like not a shelf, but like another platform that was really high, and we had to climb back up it and scoot across the ledge. Just weird stuff whenever I'm with her. This next one is short, but I find it really fascinating. I was sort of like hanging out, just chilling somewhere. It doesn't really matter. And like an acquaintance of mine, someone I barely knew. I don't even think I knew them in real life. It's one of those, dream people. They just appear and you're like, oh, I know you. So this guy I didn't really know, he was like, hey, can you give me $50? And I was like, ooh, ooh, yikes. I cannot do that. But I opened my little coin purse that I have, that I keep all my cash in, and I pulled out a $39 bill. So I was like, oh, well, you can have this. And I was about to hand it to him, but I look at it, and I can see that it has writing on it that's like, this isn't real money. And, I know $39 bills don't exist, but I don't know. It clicked for me in the dream world that, like, it also doesn't exist here. So, but I had already, like, promised it to this guy. So I was like, ooh, what am I going to do? So I just hold it in my hands and I close my eyes. And did I close my eyes? I don't know if I closed my eyes or if I was looking at it, but I hold it in my hands and I will the $39 bill to turn into small bills, like a 20 appears, then a 10, then a 5, then ones, and I take the money and I hand it to him. And what's interesting to me about this one in particular is, I woke up and I was like, that's interesting. But later in the day, I was just like chilling and I wanted to get a cup of coffee, like from a vending machine, you know, those coffee machines. So I went looking in my purse to see if I had quarters, and I didn't. But while I was at it, I was like, okay, let me count my money. And I had exactly $39 in there. So, ooh, spooky. Friday the 13th material, you guys. Oh. Okay, I think I'm going to have this be the last one. This, I have no particular feelings, but this was another one where I was just anxious. Am I just anxious in all my dreams? In these ones, at least. So, I was sitting on a couch with a couple of other people, and I could not tell you who they were. I'm pretty sure I was just sitting looking straight forward, but I could feel like their presence. And I was wearing a scarf and a winter coat, like a puffer. And we were sitting in this like big white, like expansive space. Like it basically was like a set, and very close in front of us, like a couple steps away. Not a couple steps, but like you could walk to and from it like very, very easily, like 30 seconds. And there were these giant steps, like a big white staircase. And even though the room was like very large, we were super close. And then a musical number started. So this musical number starts, like music, piano music, starts coming from nowhere. These women appear in like a fog. And it's a good like 50 of them, like many women. And at first it's just like a few, like one like main singer and a handful of like background singers like around her. But the longer it goes on, like the more sort of appear. So these women appear at the top of the staircase, and the singer is wearing like a yellow satin dress, like simple, cute. And all the background singers have the same one on in like dark, like navy blue. But they have these circular balloons, like floaties that you would have in a pool, on their shoulders, facing like forward. So you sort of see it circling their shoulder. And they're just like shiny and flesh colored and weird. I have no idea. I know actually where that image comes from. There's like musical number I've seen where there's like floaties in the background, but I don't know why my brain put them here. So they're singing and descending the stairs slowly, doing like arm movements. Nothing like super impressive, but as I'm watching this, I'm like, I'm supposed to be in this. I'm supposed to be there. So I stand up And that's actually when I realized I have my scarf and coat on. And at the same time, I become aware that this is being televised, like people are watching. I'm on camera, but there's no like live audience behind me. I don't know if I even can turn around or if I did, but I know there's no one behind me. But in my mind, I can see like an old TV screen, and like a projection of what it would look like if there was a camera right behind me watching this happen. So I'm really embarrassed. And I sit down again and I rip my scarf off and like rip my coat off. And by the time I finish that, all of the performers are like way off, like far away in formation doing their thing. Some of the like background girls are kind of lingering. The background dancers are like lingering around, moving slowly, like swaying and waving. And I'm just like very anxiously like, where's my spot? Where's my mark? Where am I supposed to be? And I didn't figure it out. I think I might have just given up and sat back down. But I was dressed the part under my coat. I was wearing the like background dancer dress. But they just sort of like faded from existence. The whole situation did. Like I woke up and I was like, what was even happening? But I was very embarrassed and anxious the whole time. I'm pretty sure I said that was going to be the last one, but actually this is going to be the last one because it's the most recent of all of them and very interesting to me. I remember it pretty vividly. I was walking down the street, casually, just out and about, and I ran into two former classmates that I have, and we were excited to see each other, but I was like, "You're so small. Why are you so short?" And I hugged this one girl, and I was like, "You feel so short and small." And she grew in my arms, and she was like, "Oh, well, how's that?" And I was like, "You're still shorter than normal, but great. How are you?" And the other girl who she was with had two heads. And I felt like I had seen her before, and she had only one head. And I had seen her before with two heads. So I knew one of them was not real and that she like wears it as an accessory. But looking at her, I could not tell which head was her original head. And they each had different hair colors, which was kind of fun. I think they had different makeup on too. So I was kind of like catching up with her. We weren't as close as I was with the other girl. And when I was talking to her, I was just sort of acting like I was in a conversation with three people. Only one of her mouths moved, but I still wasn't convinced that that was the real head. I could not tell. So we just exchanged pleasantries, and I went back to, my other conversation with the first girl. And she told me that something I had said had upset one of her other friends and offended her. So I was thinking like, oh, I didn't really mean it like that. I have to apologize to her. And thinking of like how I should do that. And then I woke up. The end. So those are some of the dreams that I've been having lately. What I'm gathering from it is I'm more nervous and anxious about stuff than I thought I was. And I'm very relieved when I wake up and I don't have to deal with these things. Sometimes it is alarming, but glad to be living in this reality? Question mark. Am I? The way things are. Well, that's it for me. Happy Friday the 13th. Ooh, ookie spooky. Hello from my car. It's a few days later, but last night I had a very strange dream that I thought was really interesting because it is the first time I've ever had the classic teeth falling out dream. So, trigger warning for teeth falling out for this one. I wrote it down in this little book. So I'm just going to read it. Sorry if I'm looking in weird directions. I don't know. I'm trying my best, you guys. Okay, I'm just going to read. I had a dream where I was dressed to graduate with a robe and a cap and even extra stoles. I don't remember walking across the stage, and I think I even may have or someone near me walked to somebody else's name. Afterward, I got into this van with my whole family, but we all might have been at Costco. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about if I wanted to go and get a hot dog, like the hot dog meal. So, getting inside the van, I could sit either by my sister or in a further back row alone, but I chose to sit next to her. While driving, we hit a bump, and I saw a tooth on the seat next to me. I opened my mouth and I looked in a mirror, and there was an empty spot in my mouth, one of the canines, right here. As we go, more and more of my teeth start falling out one by one, or a couple at a time, until I try to close down my mouth and clench my jaw, but there's nothing there. So my mouth sort of like smushed, smushed. I remember screaming, but it wasn't because it hurt or because I was like super surprised or anything, just to let my family know it was serious. At one point, we appeared at home, and my mom was saying she'd call the dentist so I could go and get this fixed. But she was messing around in the kitchen while I waited by the door with all my teeth just in my hands. I think she was making hot dogs on the stove. I couldn't do anything because I was holding my teeth, so my hands were full. Each one of the teeth had just a little dot of blood on it. I kept thinking about how the dentist would fix my teeth, and maybe by pushing them back in or cutting open my gums. I pictured myself looking down on myself in the dentist chair from above with hooks holding my mouth open. And I was wondering if I would have to wear braces or a retainer to keep my teeth from falling back out again. So, there it is, a little bit rocky. The parts that really stick out to me are that I was dressed to graduate because I'm a 2020 graduate. I feel like I've said that before, but I don't remember. So I didn't have a graduation ceremony, so that I was at one. I feel like that's significant. And then the other thing that stuck out to me that made me write this down, because when I woke up, I was sort of like late. Not late really, but I had extra stuff to do this morning, so I was kind of in a rush. And I wasn't going to write anything down. But a bit later, I was like, let me write this down. And the thing that really spurred that was that I was yelling to let other people know that there was a problem going on, not because of how I felt internally. I feel like that's I think applies to my life in a very specific way. So, okay, that's my last dream story, I promise. Bye! If you like me, tell a friend. If you don't like me, tell an enemy. Share your dream stories in the comments. Tell me if you've had any similar dreams. And peace out.